Hi. You know, history is a really demanding subject. If you've been studying it for just a little while, you won't need me to tell you that. It's demanding because of the skills it expects of its students. In another video, I talked about evaluation as a really important skill in history. And it's also demanding because of the sheer size of the subject. There's an awful lot of history. But I'm going to try and shrink that size for you at least a little bit, and at least for your revision, because I want to talk about context. And context is important as a backdrop to the events that we look at in history. History doesn't happen in a void, but it's also important in explaining causes of events. I'm going to use World War I, both the causes of the war and the nature of the war, as an example. Now think about the Paris peace treaties. How can we explain them without going back to World War I, both its causes and its nature? But look also at the work of the League of Nations. Look at the events in Weimar Germany, right through Weimar Germany. Look at the rise of Mussolini, the rise of Hitler, and think about the causes of World War II. World War I is central to any explanation of those events. And I'm talking about both the causes and the nature of the war. When we think of the causes, we think about the way in which the Entente powers were very clear that Germany was to blame. Germany was just as clear that it was not to blame, or at least not exclusively so. So straight away, we see an important context there. But also the nature in which the war was fought. It was a vicious war. There were millions of deaths. Now think about the likes of France. How many died? How many were injured? Think about the families. Think about the war pensions that France has to pay. Think about the economic damage to France. The mines that were destroyed as the Germans retreated. And you can see why France was so bitter. And you can see why the Treaty of Versailles was so harsh. But still, we go back to Germany didn't think it was to blame. And so we think about the way in which the League of Nations struggled to come to terms with treaties that not just Germany, but the other defeated powers thought were unfair. We think about the chaos, the lack of acceptance of Weimar Germany. We think about the rise of Mussolini and the mutilated victory. The Italians thought they should have got more out of the peace treaties. We think about the rise of Hitler, of course, and the blame that he put on Weimar Germany's acceptance of the peace treaty was important in his rise to power. And we think about the causes of World War II. World War II was, at least in part, a result of the revision of the peace treaties that Germany and others wanted to bring about. And so I hope you can see that in your revision, if you think about context, you're already on your way to at least one explanation of a number of different events. And that can cut down the amount of revision that you have to do. So I hope that was useful for you. Cheers.